Every once in a while, I find a game that really surprises me. It's a project that I've had my eyes on since the day it was released, but just never had the time to play it. Now, this was originally going to be a video where I covered multiple lesser known fan games, but I just had too much to say after playing this one. So I hope that gives you an idea of just how good it'll be. But before we begin, I know a lot of you probably just clicked on this video to see the name of the game and leave. But watching these videos, even if it's just in the background, helps it reach a wider audience, giving these fan games more players, and maybe even the developer more motivation to continue the game. So let's take a look at Pokemon Crimson and Cobalt, a Pokemon fan game that I never expected to be this good. Right off the bat, I'm sure you're wondering what exactly makes this game so good. Just watching the gameplay, it probably doesn't look any more special than your average fan game. Sure, the overworld definitely does look nice, but there are tons of other fan games that look a lot prettier. Obviously, graphics aren't everything. I've played a lot of games with outstanding visuals only for it to fall flat in other departments. So it's got some regional variance then. Or even Fakemon, right? Nope. Then, what is it? I'll be honest, I had a hard time figuring out where to start, but the writing in this game is phenomenal. Something I've noticed in a lot of other fan games is just how much gets thrown at you from the beginning. Whether it's a handful of cultists or evil teams screaming at you, or a bunch of legendaries and lore being thrown in your face, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Even my favorite fan game starts with some girl's family getting kidnapped by a cult, but Crimson and Cobalt starts off slow. You're just a seemingly ordinary kid who's getting their first Pokemon, traveling the region, and overcoming small obstacles. Of course, as you progress, you will start to feel it and understand the underlying mystery this game has to offer, but in the beginning, you won't need to worry about much. The part of the story that stands out the most, however, is the characters. The people you interact with in this game feel very alive. I wasn't having a bunch of different terms and phrases thrown at me left and right. Characters were talking to me as if they were just normal people going about their lives. Normal people that understood I was just some kid who wanted a Pokemon. Speaking of the main character, they're also alive, with their own personality and voice. One of my favorite features in any fan game is a talking protagonist, which this game does very well. I'll be honest, you might not like them at first, with their negative attitude constantly on display, but it just makes their growth and character development even more satisfying. But more impressive than the main character's writing were the rivals. Unlike most story-focused fan games, you aren't bombarded with like 20 different characters whose names you probably won't even remember. In Crimson and Cobalt, you'll be accompanied by just 3 rivals. As much as I dislike such a small cast of characters in a fan game, these guys do an amazing job of holding the story together. Each one has a vastly different personality, but also unlike other fan games, they don't just walk up to you and suddenly become your best friend. There's a lot of character development that comes into play, some of it messy, but overall rewarding. The interactions between characters in this game were just so fun to read, and it really made the game even harder to put down. The final piece of storytelling that impressed me was how the random NPCs were written into the game. Everyone had something to say or do, and you can really tell the developer put effort into each and every one of them. Something I feel this game does better than other fan games is incorporating the nature of Pokemon into the story. I don't want to spoil too much, but little details like this really put a smile on my face, and there's definitely something I can learn here as a developer. But storytelling isn't everything. Of course, this is still a Pokemon game, and it needs to have good gameplay features. Now, I'll be honest, this definitely isn't one of those games like Unbound or Tectonic that shoves a ton of quality of life in your face. but I never felt like I was spending any of my time grinding or doing other undesirable tasks. Something that did stand out to me though were the puzzles. I thought they were pretty well put together and unique, but of course there is a walkthrough if you wish to not spend a lot of time doing them. Additionally, this game uses some pretty unique battle animations. I'm not sure if they are custom or not, but they were still pretty cool to look at. As for the region, I was pleasantly surprised with how it felt down to earth and somewhat ordinary, but still fun to progress through. Other than that, the gameplay is pretty standard, but in my opinion, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So after all that, should you play this game? I want to say yes, but I have a few more things to say that might convince you even more. First of all, while this might be the first major release of the game, the developer has a couple of smaller fan games under their belt already, so they definitely came into this game with previous experience, and the ability to make the first version a high quality one, which isn't very common in this scene. But I want to close this off by saying I'm 100% serious about the claims I've made about this game. Despite having a lot of fan games played on my channel so far, I'm pretty picky when it comes to highly praising one. And even though the gameplay side of things were pretty standard, the game really was a breath of fresh air from the typical fan game writing I'm used to. Something I feel a lot of players and developers need to hear is that a fan game doesn't need to be the next Unbound or Xenoverse to be really good. But that's about all I have left to say. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and share it, but most importantly, have a nice rest of your day.